Uh, Welcome to session 6, Rural Broadband uh, Technology Landscape under the overall TTDD theme of, of realizing 6G vision, societal needs, usage scenarios, and technologies. I am Rajesh Kapoor, convener of this particular session and consultant at TSDSI SDSS Group. This session shall be co-chaired by Dr. Abhishek Thakur from IDBRT and Mr. Sandeep Agarwal from CDOT. Abhishek Agarwal is assistant professor at IDBRT Institute of Development of Banking Technologies, where he coordinates 5G use cases lab on BFS. His research interests are multimedia communication, financial inclusion, rural ICT deployment, have over 25 years of experience. Sandeep Agarwal is scientist and team leader in CDOT and a senior IEEE member, where his focus is on standardization of Wi-Fi and rural broadband technologies. He actively contributes at TSDSI, IEEE, WBFA. There are certain hygienic instructions which are given in the chat window. You may kindly go through it for smooth experience of this particular session proceedings. So now I hand over to Dr. Abhishek Thakur for further proceeding. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Kapoor, sir. So without losing time, Chandrakanta, can we move to the, So this session on rural broadband technology landscape is exploring trends and challenges in rural broadband architecture, its interplay with the digital public infrastructure for an inclusive digital society. It also examines innovative policy frameworks for sustainable rural service delivery. We delve into multiple use cases like education, health, agriculture that benefit the rural communities. So a warm welcome to all of you, and a special thanks for the speakers and the panelists joining us. Can we have the next slide, please? Next slide. So this is the session schedule. Can we have the next slide, Chandrakanta? Yeah, thanks. So thanks to the esteemed speakers and panelists. As a group in TSDSI, we have been working on rural broadband service architecture for a little over 2.5 years, focusing on what is classically called Bharat, the aspects of connectivity, security, usability, and affordability all combined there. The keynote speakers are bringing in excellent technology terms for us to deliberate upon. And if time permits, we will have 1 or 2 questions immediately after the keynotes, or else we take it during the panel discussions. Next slide, please. One more. Yeah, so I'm happy to introduce our first speaker, Vivek Duaji, who is working as General Manager in BSNL with more than 20 years experience in telecom sector. He specializes in setting up IT and telecom networks, including mixed of radio, optical networks, and so forth, handle multiple streams from billing to contract management to data center and cloud technologies. He has also worked on product and pricing for Wi-Fi, fiber to the home programs, business enhancements to customer online engagement, and so forth. He has a BTech from Punjab Engineering College and MBA from IMT Ghaziabad. Vivek Diwaji, please take over. Chandrakanta, can we stop sharing and have him thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Abhishek ji. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak in this very prestigious forum. Frankly, last 2 years have spent a lot of time, energy on the digital kranti as a concept, as an enablement, and my experiences that I have gathered, I'll try to share through a couple of slides that I have prepared, and of course, through the question answer sessions that we will have subsequent to that. But frankly, it has been a very, very enriching experience, I would say, because large part of career has been spent serving in the urban centric areas, and the social impact that I saw in last 2 years focusing only on rural and particularly BharatNet utilization, which was certainly a challenge historically, but now has become very, very, I would say, comfortable for the masses to connect to this platform. That is bringing sea change in the way things are getting rolled out and creating a digital kranti in the nation. So let me share the short presentation that I have prepared to help you appreciate the points that I am narrating. Yeah, is it coming properly? I hope
Yes,
it is coming properly.
yes, Vivekji.
Okay, great. So the bridging the digital divide, which all of us talk about, is easier said than done. And as I said, BharatNet is bringing that bridging effort required between the last mile or the homes in the rural area and the telecom network, that is the backhauling or the core network to which they need to connect. Now, what are the objectives when we do all of this by bringing good telecom or broadband connectivity in our villages? The healthcare, which is a very important segment for a society to flourish, starts getting addressed through the concept as we have been understanding telemedicine. But we have seen very excellent experiments happening across the states. Particularly, we did some pilot programs in Assam, in Karnataka, in Madhya Pradesh. So we had tied up with organizations who are into this program of telemedicine, and we see on ground that when we bring fiber to the village, how the telemedicine genuinely starts happening, and you frankly don't need doctors at the primary healthcare centers. You just need technicians. That's the fundamental change we saw with the technology coming to the village, and doctors not required, but technicians required just to pick up the right amount of data, either through the videos or through the probes that capture a lot of data, and you are done to get the right advice. Of course, the emergency treatments would require different kind of methodology, but from the primary healthcare perspective, only this technology enablement is sufficient to reach to all 6 lakh plus villages for a good healthcare system to work. Financial inclusion, where all we talk about the microfinancing and a lot of mudra loans that government has been talking about. All of this becomes genuinely a workable thing when the broadband or the internet reaches to the village. Otherwise, concepts float around, the policies float around, but they don't come into action till a good internet has reached to the village or a gram panchayat. So this again is a very key enabler for the economy to really take a good shape. Entertainment is a very fundamental need. All of us know this. And historically, the cable TV or the satellite TV has been the medium. 5 years last since COVID, we have seen OTT has been the primary format of entertainment. And in rural, the consumption is no less than what we see in the urban area, that I'll show in my slides also. So a very fundamental need that all of us have in the form of OTT is again getting enabled for all the rural areas. Agriculture is what we are as an economy. Almost 65% of population is still engaged into this format of economy, and technology is certainly bringing a lot of change. So these are the key impact areas that I have tried to highlight before moving on to the telecom concept. Now, looking at the challenge and the structure of things, this is how we look at the whole program. At the core, at the heart of the system, when we talk of reaching to the rural areas, is my core network, which is all IP network, which carries the traffic. On the left side is, as an example, I have told, OTT can be a telemedicine is also an OTT, or for that matter, all fintech products are also OTT. I have just put the entertainment piece on the left. and it can be stacked to a number of players who finally get rolled out through the IP network reaching to the last mile customer. On the right hand side where I see all my partners, so we don't today talk of linemen, all those people who used to service the areas. It's an all partner driven program in the rural and urban that we engage into. And because of this partner driven program only, the technology benefits have reached to the rural masses. I'm repeating this because 2 years back, including Prime Minister Office, saw what is really happening in BSNL as a change, where the last mile, which is the most critical area for service delivery, is now being driven by BSNL to the partner ecosystem. Seeing the benefit of this system and the way it has been done through a total digital platform, the government decided to roll out the BharatNet program also with BSNL as the key vehicle for running this program. So I'll explain little more on this, but as you see in this on the screen, the OLT, which is the GPON network aggregation point, down to the home where we see the Wi-Fi, this whole infrastructure is put up by the partners. They become investors into this whole program. They are not just the beneficiaries. They are first the investors, and then they become the beneficiaries by integrating the equipment and then servicing the customers and then earn the revenues on top of that. So what BSNL does for the partners is that they enable internet backhaul. You will hear from the other speakers also that this is a very critical piece to the overall service delivery. It's an expensive piece in the cost sheet that one would make in the business. Then all caching and peering, you need investments to be done for the latency problem on the internet. You need a lot of OTT partnerships to run good content on the network. Then, of course, you need prepaid or postpaid billing systems. You need collection, fault management, reporting, etc. So all of the IT systems. Then customers need to have self-care systems, the contact support or the mobile app support. You need a lot of messaging to be done to customers through emails, SMS, etc. And then a lot of regulatory compliances. So all of this as a telco, as an enabler, we do for the partners. So we tell them that this business, this part of the business, BSNL will do it for you, and you take care of the last mile customer engagement, which is the service delivery and satisfaction to the customer. In the rural area, now I come to challenges which need to be sorted out when you have to make the things happen. Rural area have a serious business viability. Reason being that the affordability is certainly lesser when we look at the urban areas. Secondly, the population density, because at the end of the day, how dense is the area in habitation also decides what will be the per user or per customer cost to the service partner. And rural areas, we find this as a challenge because except for 4 states or 5 states in the country, the population density is relatively lesser than the urban areas. So the cost increases. Then the skill level required for running that piece of network or the service, that service level challenges are definitely there. Affordability I have spoken, and particularly in the affordability, the one-time cost is the biggest challenge. So there are two costs to running the network. One is the setup cost or the one-time cost, where customer may have to buy a modem or some infrastructure to get the service going. Either the service operator has to pitch in this cost or the customer has to bear this cost. But one-time setup cost is certainly the biggest hurdle. Then month on month is your rental or the recharge that you would do for running that service. Now, what government as a policy decided, and the study was done in detail, that the larger problem is the one-time cost. The running cost or the month-on-month recharge, which can be between 200 to 400 rupees per month based on the geography and the areas, can certainly be something where customer can pitch in, because even today they pay some 250 to 300 for the TV channels or the entertainment that they are used to. Plus, internet is a very basic need today, so they will be ready for bearing another 100 to 200 for the internet. The initial one-time cost of setting up the network, which could be ranging between 4,000 to 5,000 anywhere, is something where the government has to pitch in. And that's where the BharatNet Udyami program started 2 years back, where government declared that we will pitch in that value or the cost to the customer, and then month on month basis, the customer will bear the remaining cost. So this incentive program has become part of the union budget also, and they have made provision of almost 15,000 crores for the last mile one-time setup cost to the customer, so that the digital connectivity happens in the rural areas. The whole scheme got branded as BharatNet Udyamis. That's what is written in the bold and red color on the top. But the guy who delivers the service is the same cable guy who has been running the conventional cable service, who knows the customers, who knows the challenges of that geography, and who has a social face, or he is responsive to the society in which he or she serves. So they are the local champions. They know who is affording how much in that particular community, and accordingly are able to sell a proposition or a product to the customers in that area. And customers also on the other side have a certain social connect with that service partner, and day in, day out, they are interacting or engaging with that partner. So we have made those cable guys only as our business stakeholders. As I explained in the beginning slide, they do certain investment by putting a 4-port EPON or a GPON and the 2-4 fiber and the tool and the tester, etc. And BSNL on behalf of USOF pays those partners two things. One is the one-time setup cost to connect that customer, as I said. And then month on month for running the service, we have a revenue share model with those partners, so that if a customer pays me 400 rupee per month, we pay almost 50%, which is 200 rupee per month per customer. And typically each partner of mine is having 100 odd customers, which guarantees a monthly income of around 20,000 for running that service in particular area. So one time government takes care, that gets paid once the connection is put through, and month on month you are doing the service delivery, that revenue share takes care. This is how the whole business ecosystem becomes viable, and it's running healthily, as I'll show through the numbers also. And I'm sure the target that government has kept as a 5-year plan for 1.5 crore homes to be connected looks very, very practical. As part of our strategy to make it really successful on an ongoing basis, we onboard the partners, we train the partners, we explain them the basic mathematics that I told you just now. 100 customers, each 200 amounting to 20,000 assured returns on the investment that they do. We have a very, very simplified payment process, a zero touch and a no human connect kind of a payment process, because typically government systems have this serious challenge of not being good payment masters. So simplifying the whole payment process brings that confidence of the partners that it's good to go with BSNL or a similar entity who is serving in that particular area. Train and retrain is very important. So we have something called SWIFT, which is skillfully wiring India with fiber technologies. It's called the SWIFT program. It's a 1-week online program, and we have 2 to 3 days lab programs also, in which men and women both are trained in a very simplified manner how to run the GPON services. So this is towards the end of my presentation only. I'm reaching closer to that. So we have today 7,000 plus BharatNet Udyami partners across the country. We are serving more than 50,000 Gram Panchayat. So this we have covered in last 1.5 years, I would say, which is a kind of success. I have visited good number of Gram Panchayat myself to understand what is the social impact, what are the needs that we haven't served till date, what are their expectations, both in terms of how we price the products, how we service the customers, all those challenges and the answers we try to bring in. The consumption is really very encouraging. We have 200 GB plus per home per month, which is very similar to what a normal urban home would do. We have 6 lakh plus customers only on BharatNet. BSNL has a lot more when we talk of FTTH, but only on BharatNet, we are able to onboard 50,000 customers per month approximately. Though initial we hardly had 5,000, 10,000 in the beginning, but now that consistency in terms of monthly onboard has come. And government, as I told, has decided to connect 1.5 crore homes, for which the budgetary provisions also have been done. And as of now, the key enabler for this whole program is BSNL, and it could be a few more operators also to run this program in times to come. But that's how a large operator, handshaking with the LCOs, the cable operators at the rural grassroots level, put together, they have to work to see that this whole rural broadband connectivity program becomes a success. So that's the brief of my experience in last 1.5 or 2 years of running this BharatNet Udyami program, and the answers that I got through the challenges which I saw in the field. So thank you very much for the patience.
Very inspiring journey that you have walked us through, Vivekji. And while we wait for Q&A from audience, one question from my side on the cyber security part. Given that we are not having so tech savvy end users, how are we de-risking ourselves when we are giving the end devices for user usage?
So end devices today, which we understand as the ONTs, the government has this program called MTCT and the Trusted Source Program, wherein there are certain specifications of the hardware, and those only certified vendors who comply to those guidelines are onboarded into the network. And we also have a TRO69 platform, which is an internationally recognized platform for monitoring the end devices and the software updates which are required in routine, because cybersecurity is one area where you can never be complacent in terms of what you own today, and it's a sustainable thing for long. So regular updates are required in terms of the hardness of that platform that you have put in the network. So all CPs are hardened on a very regular basis as and when we get alerts or updates into the system. So that's how the whole ecosystem of end devices is built.
Okay. And these CPEs are Wi-Fi enabled?
Yeah, of course. Without Wi-Fi, customers cannot enjoy the internet at home.
Great. Jaspreet has a query. How is BSNL taking care of maintenance of underground deployed fiber by BBNL, since LCO is not allowed to maintain?
So there are contracts to maintain the underground fiber that is part of the BBNL asset now being maintained by BSNL. So countrywide, we have some 7 to 10 partners doing that piece of service delivery. Frankly, I am not engaged into that program, which another team is there in BSNL. So giving more details for me won't be possible, but it's run through separate set of contracts for the fiber maintenance.
Great, thanks. Any other question? We can have one last question before we move to the next keynote.
So I have a query for Vivek. So as part of last mile delivery, the delivery is over FTTH, but the end connectivity, mostly the users are connecting over Wi-Fi.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So as part of this, whether the public Wi-Fi hotspots are also enabled as part of the program?
Yeah, we have enabled a lot of public Wi-Fi hotspot. If you see, if I have to give example of healthcare segment, today all primary healthcare centers in the state of Bihar are powered by Wi-Fi hotspot. So all citizens coming to the primary healthcare get free Wi-Fi access, and in fact the online health monitoring tool platform, etc. The citizens are using mobile apps to see what is their health record, the registration process, the appointment process. So all of that gets simplified once that PHCs get powered by a good Wi-Fi coverage particularly. So all of that with the backhauling of fiber that we have, the PHCs in Bihar and a couple of other states also, because Bihar as a state and the health department particularly have done a very decent job in last 1 year to see the benefits coming to the citizens. Other states are also getting on board in a very similar manner.
Okay. There is one more query from Prashant. You can take.
Yeah, so are we doing training for fiber splicing? I think Prashant ji is also looking at a skill set being built up in the rural area as we speak. So as part of this training that you mentioned, are we...
So the splicing is a very fundamental thing to the business of GPON. We do that. And just to share with you, we are also now working along with ITIs. We experimented this in Himachal. We had a partnership with the ITI, where as part of their course on the electronics and one more I don't remember, we introduced a 15 days FTTH program also, and it was a success. And some of the students, the pass outs from ITI, became our partners, and now we're talking to the skill development ministry also, so that a pan-India engagement happens. And we also intend to set up a lot of labs across the country on the GPON thing particularly.
Great. Thanks a lot. Let us come back to the panel discussion with you, Vivekji. There are other questions we can take during panel discussions.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So we will move on to the next keynote, which is by Sharad Arora-ji. Sharad ji is an international expert in telecom, security, IoT, and with his new journey on e-learning, having contributed to several national and international standards technology committees, working groups, and path-breaking initiatives in ICT, with a career spanning more than 3 decades. He has achieved quite a lot of things, working in forums of ITU, 1M2M, and even giving best practices and recommendations for IoT and similar devices. In BIS, he has contributed to the IoT reference architecture and bootstrapping of IoT devices and several other technical reports. Sharadji, can we have your keynote on the education sector with rural ICT?
Thank you, Abhishek ji. I hope I'm audible and I think I'm visible.
Yes.
Thank you. I will share my screen, and in the meantime, just pay my regards to Mr. Vivek Dua. It was extremely motivational to hear him speak, and for the things that BSNL is doing. I've always had great regards for the national flag carrier operator, but this is really remarkable. Thank you, Mr. Dua, for that very inspiring presentation. Let me check. Is my presentation now visible, or?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Abhishek ji. I'll get started, and I remain committed to 20 minutes. 20 minutes is okay, or?
Yes, please.
Thank you. So my agenda today is to discuss my experiences with tech enablement of remote education, which is where I have been in the last 2 years, more or less that much time. And clearly the nature of things that Mr. Dua talked about is the need of the day for remote enablement of various services. He also talked about something very important, the village level entrepreneurs' viability, and the initiative of the nature that he spoke about with Udyami is likely to go a very long way in enabling that. And also in that, I wish to discuss what are the requirements for internet connectivity, such as to enable remote education. Then, of course, talk a little bit about the recent ITU e-learning standard that I have authored together with DOT, which got consent about a week back after 2 years of being defended in various plenaries. And of course, talk a little bit about their areas, the absence of the touch of technology and the touch of internet, to my mind, could be the biggest threat to more or less robbing a child of an opportunity, education becomes a particularly hard thing to achieve. And hence, it is very urgent and important that these massive inequalities in learning opportunities are plugged through a mix of technology.
Looks like we have
a real-time collaboration, and the other was an offline viewing of lessons from the Nodal Smart Class. And both of these led to the launch.
Sorry to interrupt. We are losing your voice in between due to, I think, connectivity issue. So what I suggest is you can switch off your video and also go into the low resolution mode. Hold this presentation, go to Amitabh, and then come back on the Sarath presentation.
Amitabh sir, can we have your presentation and then come back to Sharatji's remaining presentation after that?
Okay, I'm ready.
Thank you. So quickly introducing Amitabh sir. He is a Nokia fellow and works at Nokia Standards and Strategy. He joined Motorola in 1990 after receiving PhD in electrical engineering from Southern Methodist University, Dallas. He has been chair of NextGA, which is the US 6G Initiative, National Roadmap Working Group, and recipient of IEEE Stephen Rice and 2017 Neil Shepherd Prize. He is senior editor IEEE Access and co-author of books titled Essentials for LTE and LTE Advanced and 5G enabled industrial IoT networks. So, sir, you can get started with your presentation.
Okay, let me share my screen here. Entire screen. Here.
And thanks a lot for joining us at this odd hour. So really appreciate your
no problem.
accommodation.
No problem. Let me figure out. So this is the one. Okay. So good afternoon and thanks for inviting me. Thanks Abhishek ji for sharing the session. Can you see my slide?
Not yet. Let me see. Yes, we can.
Okay, so
yes, we can see your slides.
Okay, so I will talk about the technology landscape and I will reference 6G, although there are a lot of things going on in 5G also. It is 5G. So the title of the presentation is Bridging the Digital Divide, and I'll discuss two technologies. One is the fixed wireless access and the other is the non-terrestrial network. So both of these technologies will be useful for bridging the digital divide. So we recently had a SA1 3GPP workshop where on behalf of NextG Alliance, which is a North American initiative, we presented 9 representative use cases, which is shown over here. And the use cases which are more applicable to rural will be fixed wireless access, say connected vehicles, and that is uses NTN, low power wide area network. So these are the main use cases which may be applicable to the rural areas. The other ones, short ambient sensors, is because one of the important aspects of 6G is sustainability, and these short range massive sensors is mainly applicable for the agriculture scenario where you can have these embedded sensors in the agriculture field. So these are the more use cases which I explained will be applicable to rural areas. This next slide, which I want to share, NextGA has done a 6G roadmap for vertical industries where we looked at 8 vertical industries. which includes agriculture, automotive, education, gaming and entertainment, e-health, industrial IoT, mining, public safety, and smart cities. The applicable areas for rural, of course, is agriculture. The previous speaker was talking about the education. Education is very important, remote education, e-health, and probably public safety will be applicable. So this report is downloadable. You can go to the link and download this report. Now let us talk about fixed wireless access. So in US, I'm addressing the US perspective. This is equally applicable for rural India also. Fixed wireless access is a growing market segment. If you look at all the CSPs, there are two major use cases for 5G, right? One is the eMBB, and the other is the fixed wireless access. The other verticals which I talked about in the previous slides have not taken hold. Mainly they are served by Wi-Fi, but with respect to cellular network, we have to find an economic revenue generating stream for that to take hold. But fixed wireless access is a growing market segment. We have 330 million subscribers. By 2029, 50% fixed wireless service provider offer 5G. And one of the things I like to point out that in US, we have this quick online coverage determination for residence address. We have no truck rolls. Means once you have a truck roll, somebody wants to install CPE, then it becomes expensive. So the goal is to user self-installs and picks location, no truck rolls, self-optimization. So that's what we have to do with fixed wireless access. So in 3GPP, both 5G and 6G will offer future fixed wireless access platform, and it will leverage 5G standalone system, because there are two architectures, standalone and non-standalone. So the operators are now focused on standalone architecture. We'll have both 5G and 6G spectrum. In 5G, we have this millimeter wave also. And fixed wireless specific enhancements we'll have in the a transmit. We'll use MIMO with MU MIMO in there. And there will be government incentives to close the digital divide. So fixed wireless access for rural is one of the technologies to close the digital divide. The CPs will have larger form factor. It is stationary. It will have external power supply and optimized location. The foundation is 5G performance, which include carrier aggregation, MU MIMO, and of course, you'll have new spectrum. So going back to 5G and 6G use cases, we think FWA is efficient, secure, and scalable alternative to wired connection. For rural, suburban, we'll have the indoor CP. Urban, we can have millimeter of outdoor CPs. So here you can see on the right-hand side, the fixed wireless access. There are two architecture. One is the split CP architecture option, where the CP is mounted outdoor, and there is an indoor power over fiber connection, as you can see over here. The other is indoor unsplit CPE architecture, typical for suburban and rural. So what we see that the fiber is not always the cheapest alternative for the last mile. So we have fixed internet connection for integrated new business side. We can take advantage for fixed wireless access of the underuse. So the millimeter wave generated a lot of buzz, but mainly for mobility deployment, it is difficult because of the penetration loss, the blockages, and stuff like that. So millimeter wave, currently people have deployed, or operators have deployed for millimeter wave. And FWA competition enables cheaper unbundled broadband internet or promotes sticky cell phone mobile service. So one of the advantages is that for fiber or cable broadband operator in a geographical area without competition, they jack up their prices, for which the customers are not satisfied. So this option of fixed wireless access is very attractive in those cases. So what kind of performance we can get with fixed wireless access? So this is a simulation, and we have looked at all the frequencies, 2 gigahertz, 3.5 gigahertz, which has already deployed by various operators. The 7 and 13 gigahertz are the new 6G frequencies, which we have talked about. The 28 gigahertz is the millimeter wave frequencies over here. And you can see the first couple of rows are based on so the rates depends upon the bandwidth and the number of antennas, receive and transmit antennas at the CPs. And you can see that for 5G with 100 megahertz of bandwidth, you can get this kinds of rate in the downlink and uplink. This is the mean rate. This is the edge data rates. And this the edge data rate depends upon the intersite distance, and we can really improve the data rates or the performance if you go to higher bandwidth, as you can see with 6G. For 28 gigahertz, you have 800 megahertz of bandwidth, so obviously your data rates, both the mean and edge data rates, are much higher than the mid-band and sub-6 gigahertz. Of course, you can see this is one of the attractive options for deploying fixed wireless access. So coming back to other areas where you can have rural coverage is the NTN. So I'll say LEO and HAPS are primarily driving the disruption in non-terrestrial networks. So non-terrestrial networks includes GEOs, MEOs, LEOs, high altitude platform stations, which we call HAPS, low altitude platform stations like the drones. So mainly we can use HAPS for rural disasters and LEOs for underserved global internet IoT coverage, internet connectivity where wireline is not, where cellular is not available or terrestrial network is not available. And we can use UAVs or drones for package deliveries and so on and so forth. So there is this new space economy, mainly for LEOs, also for GEOs, because this LEOs have been existent since the Iridium days when I used to work for Motorola, but it never gained traction because of the high cost and high form factor of the CPEs. So currently, why it is taking off? Couple of reasons, right? Launch cost has been reduced, satellite cost reduced, there's launch intervals which have been reduced, number of satellites for launch has increased, there is an end-to-end latency which is reduced. Of course, we are getting increase in throughput by using MIMO kind of technology. And then we'll have the integration of TN and NTN. So in 3GPP, there is a whole topic of NTN. The release 17, we can fully enable NTN to compensate for the Doppler and using LEO for the compensate for the Doppler and handoffs. And then we'll have a integration of TN and NTN, and it will be a very, I'll say, tight integration going into 6G. So what are the use cases, right? Of course, integrating TN and NTN, you will have ubiquitous connectivity, which is very useful for rural areas where you'll see if the population is below a certain amount, say 400 users per square kilometer or square mile, it is not feasible to deploy an additional base station. So TN and NTN covered that area instead of using an additional base station. So integration of TN and NTN for rural areas, deploying a NTN network there, because for TN network, you have to bring the cable and you have to acquire the sites, which includes additional cost. Mobile expansion, with NTN, IoT connectivity for agriculture, mining. So because these are very low rate devices, and NTN is perfect for that, for global connectivity using IoT. Then for defense applications, very useful. Security applications, satellite-based quantum key distribution, very useful, etc. So next slide. This shows the NTN landscape, and you can see there are two scenarios for NTN. One, you can have the non-3GPP based connectivity. One of the example for non-3GPP based is the Project Kuiper, which is mainly CPs, which is Amazon is doing. And then there is this 3GPP based, AST, Starlink, and this gives you what are the services they provide, how many satellites are there, whether it is a GEO or LEO, and this gives a broad landscape of both the 3GPP and non-3GPP network. And the main usage now is messages. Eventually there will be global IoT. The broadband connectivity will be quite limited because of the distance, because of the antenna gains, and so on and so forth. But for fixed services, you can definitely have broadband data rate, but for mobile, it is challenging. This is the link budget we did, and you can see the bandwidth onto your y-axis and the data rate on your x-axis. As you can see on the right-hand corner, for fixed services where you have large antenna gains, then you can have data rates up to 1 gigabits. Now, if you have mobile data, you can see the data rates are lower. It is less than 1 gigabits. Of course, for HAPS, high altitude platform service, it is the plane flies at 20 to 50 kilometers altitude. Of course, you will get better downlink and uplink data rates. One of the NTN use cases mainly, and this is applicable also for agriculture, I will say, is in US that you will not have, as you drive the car from rural areas to suburban to dense urban, you will not have continuous connectivity. So NTN is use cases where you can have connectivity when you are in a rural area. And what are the things we have? We have eCall for automotive. This is the automotive use case I was talking about. Car sharing, remote unlocking, safety-related traffic information, which is SRTI, road hazard warning, etc. So for this, we use narrowband data rates. Software updates, again, we may need wideband data rates, and entertainment, which includes on-demand video, gaming, and for this case, you need broadband data rate. The point of this slide is that if you look at the whole landscape of 4G coverage, you can see AT&T and T-Mobile. So this is Yellowstone National Park. So I have been to Yellowstone National Park, and for vast areas of national park, there is no connectivity using cellular. So in that case, this NTN will provide connectivity where there is no cellular coverage. So this chart gives you what kind of data rates you can have. This shows pre-release 17. So some of the satellite players like AST, they are providing proprietary service, or they will provide proprietary service without standards modification to the phone. So a 4G phone or a 5G phone can operate with AST. But now we have released 17, which is 3GPP based, so you can have, but the phones will not be available since another 2-3 years. But there is manufacturers or satellite providers like AST who can do pre-release 17. The HAPS, LEO and GEOS, which is at 36,000 kilometers. And you can see what kind of data rates we can get. These are, so for very small aperture terminal, we can of course get very high data rates, 100 to 200 megabits on the uplink. But for handheld, so for pre-release 17, it is messaging only. For HAPS, we can get, this is a simulation, around 42 megabits on the rounding, 18 megabits on the uplink. For LEOs, around 20 megabits. So you can see for mobile services, it is very difficult to get broadband data rates because of the limitation in link budgets. But for VSAT, but for fixed services with very small aperture terminal, you can get very high data rates. So last slide, so summary for rural coverage. You will have global coverage. NTN can provide global coverage to augment TN. It will never become the primary technology. It will always augment TN services and will provide coverage where TN in areas of low traffic densities. It can provide global IoT coverage for IoT services like agriculture sensors, mining sensors, etc. We think 3GPP is the key, both for NTN and fixed wireless access, which is compliant with 3GPP. Fixed wireless access is economical, secure, and scalable. We can have good downlink data rates with all the modifications which are going on, although the uplink rates is sufficient. Locations with geo constraint. Example, no poor fixed line service, including economic drop-off with population, or includes fiber economic drop-off with population density. You can deploy a fixed wireless service and later convert into a fiber-only service. And so what I'll conclude by saying that for rural coverage, NTN and FWA are the key technologies. And NTN will remain largely complementary to terrestrial-based network for broadband services, and is well positioned to address areas of low traffic and low data rate IoT use cases, like in the Yellowstone National Park I showed you for the automotive use case or agricultural use cases where there are no cellular services in majority of the areas. Fixed wireless access is a popular and growing market segment due to high data rates, flexibility, and economics. With that, I think I am done and I am ready for questions. Thank you.
Sir, if you don't mind, we are running behind schedule. We will have the Q&A in the panel.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you. So request, and sorry, it's really interesting the way you have presented. I did have queries on the impact of foliage, and there is a question from Smita on why 13 gigahertz band had a lower data rate compared to both 7 and 20 gigahertz. Let us come back to it during the panel discussions.
Okay, no problem.
We would have Sharadji back on the stage. So can we have the slides?
I'm trying again, and I'm going to keep my video off.
Okay.
in the hope that we can get better bandwidth for the presentation. Okay. I hope my screen is visible again.
Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry, Chair, for the disturbance, but let's try to start again. I had come this far where we mentioned that it is urgent and important that these massive inequalities in learning opportunities are plugged, because they are very foundational. When you rob a child of an opportunity to learn, then you are actually robbing it of an entire life, or you're giving it a lifetime's handicap. So having said that, one of the things that has worked well is this model in which remote classes are called mentees and nodal classes are called mentors. And two models that exist. One where there is a live collaboration. So a mentee, which is a remote smart class, is actually parented to a nodal smart class, which is live. And then ultimately a class that runs off canned sessions, fresh and canned sessions, and then gets offline support for FAQs and questions. Something like this was attempted with Hardoi. It was a unique model, a bus armed with 16 computers going about different remote areas, stationed for 15 to 20 days, ended up training people for financial literacy and basic computing skills, etc. And it resulted in a very compelling experience for the DIOS, the District Inspector of Schools, who felt that it is something that could be massively adopted. There's one model. And then in the more recent seminar, we talked about the other learnings, which are those specific things which are required in order for the remote learning experiment to work. And those are assured connectivity right at the top. So I will describe a little bit more about the nature of connectivity. But what tops the list is indeed connectivity. What then follows, of course, which I think Mr. Dua referred to in some of his earlier talks, is beyond connectivity, then you need to engage the local ecosystem. You need to provision things like e-learning infra, which we do, both in terms of a cloud-based infra and a very cost-effective edge model. Beyond that, there is a need to generate a dedicated teaching staff. So we started calling this profile a sadhak, and a proper training program for the sadhak, so that the teaching assistant with knowledge of e-learning equipment in the classroom and knowledge of content replay, that sort of a profile is at hand, so that the teachers who are frankly struggling with basic pedagogy and don't have the necessary training on e-tools, they can be assisted. Aside from that, a very important critical aspect that got discovered was local content. We can take as many videos as we like on the internet, but likelihood is that a video, even made in a part of India in a language that the child is not conversant with, is not going to work. So taking existing videos and adding vernacular, adding the local dialect is extremely critical. Access to expert classrooms, and these things are also some things we'll pick up in the final concluding slides as technology areas that merit more research and development. Point here is assurance of enterprise class connectivity in remote campuses is what is needed to transform the equitable learning opportunities. And I come from that belief that whether it is cricket or it is Indian Idol, there is clear evidence that there is no dearth of capability. There is no dearth of the talent in the remote areas, the opportunity has to be created. Moving on, then we have experimented with artificial intelligence-based assessment in single teacher schools, where 30 students, 5 to 17 years of age, and it becomes a really big problem because they are out of school students. So we applied AI to discovering for those remote students their pedagogical age versus their physical age. And that model seems to have a really big impact on learnability, teachability for the remote schools. So AI as an application on assessments and discovery of the learning path, delivery of a lesson plan that can work for that particular cluster or a particular student that has got limitless opportunities in assisting learning. So coming back to, with those experiences, coming back to asking the question, what is the connectivity requirement? And here is a list that I have taken from a document, which basically says these are the type of bandwidths that are required in order to support the activities corresponding to them. So from taking an online class to streaming a video with HD quality or standard definition SD quality, 235 Mbps, Ultra HD 25 Mbps. The important thing is that a lot of this is manageable by using other means of video encryption, but the important thing is it has to be reliable. If a class starts at 8 o'clock, and like it happened to my presentation, if there is a break even for 2 minutes, it robs the class of the concentration. It's very important to know this, that classes that will get interrupted because of internet connectivity will never run. They will never run. After a few 2-3 times, the teachers are happy to give up, and so will the class. So having said that, now future requirements for quality and evidenceable education, that's the area that is being worked on now. Effectively, what is needed is highly reliable, low latency broadband internet. And if it is 20 Mbps, it is fine. It doesn't need to be ultra broadband, but it needs to be highly reliable, and it needs to be low latency so that teachers and students in remote areas can be mentored by teachers in nodal schools, which perhaps belong to urban areas. The other thing that is clear is private purpose built low latency campus networks for AR and 3D content may be a huge opportunity, which is you light up the campus and you allow the AR 3D content to play inside the campus. You don't take out the stream away from the campus. So private networks, a cloud, an edge cloud that plays the 3D AR content, that type of a model will be very successful, it seems. And of course, seamless access to learning management systems, both when the child is in the campus and also when the child goes home. So from a public network, those are the type of things that are critical for a sustainable, evidenceable remote education. So where are we with the standards? A question that begs an answer, because the many times visited in the issue is there wasn't a document that a school could easily refer to and say, this is what we need in order for our education to go digital. So one of the things that we were motivated to do is to initiate an ITU standard. And 2 years later, we got consent a week back. In the process, we gave this world a definition for e-learning, which did not exist in the books of ITU, a hybrid classroom, and a remote classroom. So it does become a little bit of a collar up for us to say that the 3 definitions that exist now, which didn't exist earlier, came from this contribution. It discusses the challenges, internet connectivity scenarios, requirements, capabilities, and deployment models for e-learning. It essentially describes 2 deployment models, one where there is internet connectivity in the remote e-learning classroom and it is reliable, and where the reliable internet connection does not exist. So you might want to go and look at this if you have an interest in being able to say how to specify what you need in order for remote education. You can read more about it, but as I said, it defines that in the node campus, what is the power management, internet connectivity, learning management, digital content, advanced learning resources, and so on and so forth. What are the equipment in the hybrid classroom? And then similarly, what is required in terms of the remote classroom equipment and the similar category of capabilities in the remote classroom. Okay, and then having gone that far, it's also good to have a chat on the candidates for future standardization. I picked these out specifically because in my time at TSDSI and now very much in ITU, it's quite important for where new standards are created in new areas to give some kind of a lead to people who are keen to contribute with new work items. So here are some for those who may be interested: support for end-to-end intelligence, self-diagnosis, correction, and configuration in the 6G networks to maintain quality of experience. I think this will be very, very helpful for remote services, simply because there just isn't enough expertise, not enough engineering resource to support remote areas. And this self-diagnosing, self-correcting aspects of the 6G network for remote campuses will be extremely valuable. And then similar to that, this mix of AI and ultra reliable low latency communication to enable linguistically diverse students and learners to understand and interact with each other. This could be another very significant future standardization. Is that the model for mentee and mentor classrooms can work well. The next challenge is, can the teacher that is speaking in English be heard in Khasi in Northeast? And can that happen in a way that the delays are not perceptible? And if that were the outcome with the efforts of 6G, it would mean a very big leap for remote education. And then similarly, high-speed, low latency 6G networks, high-definition video, 6G content transmission for augmented reality. These are obvious things. This is the natural growth of higher capacity transmission, and they will, as they become available, and then as they become ubiquitously available, I think that will impact remote education dramatically. So that is a piece of, oh yes, and of course, adaptive learning systems, which I gave a short example of in the previous slides, which is to say how we can tailor educational content for individual needs. That part is also quite key. That is my last slide, Mr. Chairman, and I'd be happy to participate with the people who are hearing this in offline conversations, answer questions offline. My email is visible there. I'm happy to take any questions now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sharalji. In sense of time, we will start up the panel and have the interaction as we go through the panel. So thanks a lot to all the three keynotes. Request Chandrakanta to bring up the slides, please. And request all the panelists to also turn on the cameras so that we can have a good back snap sort of for all of us on the stage.
Hello.
Sandeep ji, can you please take over? Thank you.
Yeah, sorry. Even I got disconnected some time back. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Abhishek, for taking us through the keynote. And I will be taking care of the second part of the session, which is the panel. I hope I am audible.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. We have STEAM panel with the 6 panelists, and we have already heard Vivek, Sarad, and Amitava earlier, and now we have 3 new panelists: Prashant, MB Ravi Babu from NIRD and PR, that is National Institute of Rural Development and Panchayati Raj, and Kumar Satyam from CQ Labs. So what we are going to do, I'll go through the bio of our new speakers, Prashant, Ravi Babu, and Satyam, and they will speak for 3 to 4 minutes, talk about themselves, the work, what they are doing, and how their work is aligned to rural connectivity and this session today. And then after that, we'll come back and have a Q&A session with all the panelists. So can we go to profile of Prashant? Yeah, so I'll go through the profile of Prashant Maru. So Prashant Maru joined Sankhya Lab in April 2019. He has 26 plus years of experience in the field of telecommunication. He worked with Ericsson for 20 years before moving to JT and then to Sankhya Labs. He has been in a various leadership role in sales and business development, program project management, system integration, TNV, and engineering R&D. He has managed customer across the globe. We can see multiple MNCs where he has already interacted, and he has completed engineering from MIT Pune and University of Texas at Dallas, and he is also an MBA from IIM Ahmedabad. So the floor is yours, Prashant. You take 3 to 4 minutes and just set up a context. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the kind introduction, and it's a pleasure to meet you all. And what we are trying to do in Sankhya, I'll just run through that very, very quickly and introduce the concept of D2M. I'm pretty sure a large number of folks here today must have heard what D2M is all about. In simple terms, it stands for Direct to Mobile Broadcast. And what that really means is, what is direct to mobile? Today, all the networks that we have spoken of so far, that Mr. Vivek Dua, Sharad Aroraji, and Amitava Ghosh, all 3 of the keynote speakers, they introduced us to, they spoke about one-to-one communications, one-to-one. And what D2M is one-to-many. Wherein we send some content that is popular, that is viral. Either we consume it live or we pre-position it on the devices. And this is content that can be easily offloaded from the one-to-one networks, whether they are terrestrial, satellite, whatever the network is, from a one-to-one to a one-to-many network. And this is done in collaboration with these unicast networks or the one-to-one networks. And why do we need to do that? What is the reason why we are trying to do something like this? And the main reason is that in India, for a country like India, where we have 1.4 billion people, the density across the entire country is very, very high. So the content that is being consumed is doubling almost every 2-3 years. The data consumption is doubling almost every 2-3 years. Today, we are consuming about 24 GB per subscriber per month. Just about 2.5 years ago, we were consuming only 12 to 14 GB per subscriber per year. And within 2.5 years, it has doubled to 24 GB per subscriber per month. And this is just mobile broadband that I'm talking about. I'm not talking about home broadband at all. At this pace, we will continue, and we will pretty soon, it is expected to reach 75 GB per subscriber per month. And that is a huge amount of data traffic that these networks will have to handle. To support this kind of insatiable data consumption growth, we have two options. The mobile network operators have one of the 2 options. Either they can densify their network at the same rate or more, or they can move from 1G to the next G, from 5G to 6 to 7 to 8, and whatever the next G is, every 2.5 to 3 years, especially when we have to reach these far-flung subscribers who are not within the urban reach. Now, that is very, very expensive. In an area, in a country where the subscribers are very, very price sensitive, we cannot afford to have 200 and 300 rupees of ARPU per subscriber. We have to have a service model which is 1/10 that price. Can we do that today with any kind of a network? Absolutely not. How can we do it? We need to build a network that is 1/10 the cost of the existing networks. And that is exactly what we are trying to create. A network that is far less expensive than the traditional 3GPP networks, whether they are 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G, or 6G, or the wireline networks. We just have about 40 million wireline home broadband subscribers in the country today. We have 1.2 billion mobile subscribers, but the wireline subscription rate or penetration is very, very low as compared to the mobile subscription. Why? Because mobile is far more affordable in India than anywhere else in the world. And that's the reason why mobiles have become very popular. And yet, when there was a recent increase in the ARPUs from all the operators in the country, there was a huge hue and cry about it. People started complaining. So we need to create networks that are far less expensive so that the services that we can deliver over such networks are far more affordable for the end user. And what kind of services can we enable with this kind of a network? We can enable remote education. We can enable software firmware upgrades. We can send entertainment content, infotainment content, any kind of service we can enable on these kind of networks. And that is exactly what we have done. We did a trial of such a network, a D2M network, a converged network in Bangalore to begin with about 3 years ago. And then since the beginning of this year, we have created a network in Delhi, a trial network. And we are working very, very closely with Ministry of Information Broadcasting, Ministry of Communications, Prasar Bharati under MIB, and we are doing a trial network. The hope is to scale it up. Mr. Vivek Dua had come and seen this presentation or the demonstration at IMC, and he came up with an excellent suggestion, which we really liked, that while we are rolling out, while BSNL is rolling out the optical networks, the OLTs and the ONTs that he mentioned earlier in his presentation, we should roll out the cellularized broadcast transmitters alongside with on such a network. And that is exactly what we are trying to do. Any questions?
Yeah, thank you, Prashant, for taking us through what Sankhya is doing. And we'll come back with some of the questions and discuss it further. So, Chandrakanta, can you put up a slide for Ravi Babu's bio? Yeah, so we welcome Mr. Dr. M.B. Ravi Babu, who is presently holds the position of Associate Professor and Head of Center for Information and Communication Technology and SIRD ETC unit at National Institute of Rural Development and Panchayati Raj, a ministry under the Government of India, which is located in Hyderabad. So there is a very distinguished career of Mr. Babu, as we can see here. He has been a great researcher, has been awarded different scholarships and accolades throughout his career. And the very important part is we have a mix of policy makers and the technologists here, and we will be happy to hear from Mr. Babu the policies and the initiatives which are being taken by NIRD towards the rural development, and what is the role of connectivity he envisages as part of these initiatives. So Mr. Babu, I request you to take us through what you are doing and how it is aligned to rural connectivity for 3 to 4 minutes, and then we'll come back in the question and answer session.
Thank you, Sandeep. Thank you so much, and good evening to everyone. Thank you for opportunity. Yeah, so the National Institute of Rural Development and Panchayati Raj is Apex organization and autonomous organization under Ministry of Rural Development. Of course, we added into the Panchayati Raj department, ministry also. So this institution is located mainly at Hyderabad, and we are, of course, we have other campuses. One is the Northeast Center for exclusively that 8 Northeast states we are covering. And recently we merged with the Kapad and Delhi office also we got it, and Vaishali, Bihar also we got it. So these are the office locations we have. So it is almost a very old institutions where we are working for the capacity building for the all rural development last mile. So we are mostly on the Apex organization, and we are working for the capacity building from the ministry assigned targeting training programs from top to last mile. So we are providing all the capacity building related to rural development activities, policies, and also we are going for the policy making formulation point of any scheme implementation, third party evaluation kind of thing, how the schemes are performing and what kind of policy can be changed. So apart from that, again, we are doing a lot of consultancy works from the other ministries, like water, Department of Water and Land Resources, IT related also we are working on it. And at the same time, we are Apex, as I mentioned you. So we are disseminating very fast all the newly formed tools, whatever you say, the planning policy, new policies to the last mile where the Panchayati Secretary. So such a way that we have almost 29 State Institute of Rural Developments, under which we have extension training institutions, or sometimes some states they used to call as a regional institute of rural development, put together 90 and 29. So we are calling immediately, we can take all the training programs and disseminating what exactly the policy changes to SIRDs as a TOT, then they will go to the block level and district level. They used to do that. This is how the chain is going to happen, and we are also hand-holding them for the training, capacity building and infrastructure implementation point of view also. Yeah, so if you come to the rural development point of view, lot of innovations are, and transparency, accountability so much matters. So it is increased a lot these days. If you look into the IT change, a lot of things. In fact, rural development and Panchayati Raj together, they develop a lot of planning tools, because this is an area where essentially people are working to the grassroots level. If you take into the Manrega, MGN Narega, Mahatma Gandhi Narega program, and Awas Yojana, Gramin Sadak Yojana. So previously the duplicacy and these things are happening. Transparency is not much more. Now technology changed a lot. So many geotagged assets, the plannings are happening to the IT based, and we are given a lot of trainings to all the planners and the decision makers, the engineers, and they are all uploading those DPRs and verifying through the IT technology point of view. Yes, it is a very much still essential. The technology and the mobile communication need to be reached to the last mile, and it is a very important for the disseminating any messages, because end of the day, so many programs need to be reach out to the rural population. So keep into that. Still we are struggling. We are keeping the where we can't reach to the some state. If you take into the northeast and some like high density forest areas, if you take into the rural community, we have a group of homogeneity cluster based. But if you go to some states, Kerala and other states, the houses also very far. Connectivity is also very difficult, and reaching out the government policies or benefits or schemes, it is very difficult. To identify these people also makes a lot of problem, and identifying the different asset what they require. So, but IT is changing a lot of things, and internet and broadband services also very much essential. And of course, we are also making a lot of IT tool. We are developed, with the help of ministries and of course NIC and other remote sensing, National Remote Sensing Agency under ISRO.
we are all developed all these tools, and we are providing them into the planning point of view. So hand-holding and effective planning point of view, effective locating the different assets where they can be sustained to achieve the sustainable development goal points of view also. So it is not like one sector we are working it, and NIRD is having almost 22 centers where we are dealing with the sanitation, gender, like wage employment, how the employment wage can be changed as per the different location and topographic and their location, and in which we are also having IT sector. I'm responsible for the information and communication technology point of view. So we are also developing a lot of tools for the online tools or whatever the LMS tools where they can learn themselves what schemes can be done. Suppose they want to go for the check dams construction. So technically how they can put into that. So these things that we are trying to disseminate it. Okay,
yeah, so we'll come back. We'll come back.
Yeah,
We'll
yeah.
come back to
Thank you, Sandeep. Thank you
these
so much.
tools and all. I think there are lots of very interesting geotagging work which is going at NIRD, and there is a center of excellence for AI, and NIRD is looking at AI from a very different perspective. So I think we'll come back to that. Thank you, Mr. Babu. So kindly bring the slide for Kumar Satyam's bio, please. Yeah, so we also have with us Mr. Satyam, who is the CEO of CQ Labs, a pioneering startup dedicated to transforming rural communities through innovative technological solutions. They are in news recently because of their, a very innovative initiative called Digital Intelligence Village. I understand they are working with the state governments. In fact, they have also got nominated as part of the UN SDG Action Awards. So there is an illustrious career from Satyam. I'll not go in the complete details, but I'll invite Satyam to briefly highlight what CQ is doing and how their activities are aligned to rural connectivity. You have 3 to 4 minutes, Satyam, and then we'll go into Q&A. Thank you.
Yeah, namaskar. Thanks for having me here. Greetings to all the members connected. I am Kumar Satyam, representing CQ Labs as the CEO. This is a forward-thinking startup dedicated to development of sustainable model village in collaboration with multiple state governments. Our flagship product is Digigram. It is an innovative model that integrates 6 major components, that is network, surveillance, health, education, and commerce. It is specifically aimed to making rural parts of the country self-sustainable and technologically advanced. So we have been recognized, as Sir said, we have been recognized and nominated for our work, for impact of our work by Government of India and United Nations as well under SDG Awards 2023. We have commercially and successfully implemented multiple villages as we have our systems on ground. We have proved our system on ground as well. We have created multiple use cases for GPT and AI. Actually, we are working in creating a system that AI can be used by people on the ground. They are living in the villages. They should use the AI system. In this, we have created a WhatsApp-based system where anybody in any language can send a voice note. Just a voice note that about their problem or their complaint, and it is processed with AI and it is shared with the authorities, and all the grievance redressal systems work just as same. So and also the last month, Government of Uttar Pradesh has sanctioned a center of excellence in AI and 5G and beyond technologies, and we are developing that with IIT Roorkee as well. So the thing is, we are a startup. We are one of a startup that is creating a model, that sustainable model that a village can adopt, and basically make a system that is sustainable and that can work for a longer time. Not just like the systems that were multiple government projects were undertaken. Like the CSCs have implemented multiple FWAs, and they have implemented multiple surveillance systems. But a very few of them are working as of now. So we are trying to create a model with state governments, and we are trying to put an ownership with panchayats so that the system can run for a very long time. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Satyam, for this brief, introduction about what CQ Lab is and what it is doing. As part of our panel discussion, what we are going to do is I have questions for each panelist. So I'm going to ask one question to each panelist, and then panelists can take maybe 3 to 4 minutes to deliberate on that particular questions, and then after that we'll open the floor for all the panelists. So I'll go to Vivek sir first. Vivek sir, as you have discussed in your slides and the work what is being done as part of the Bharat Udyami, right? So if we see most of these digital platforms or telecom programs in developing economies basically visualizes these last mile service provider, as you called the cable guy in Bharat Udyami, or we call PDOs in PM1E scheme, or the common service centers, right? We see this last mile service provider as the anchor point. So how important are these last mile provider in the ecosystem, and how Bharat Udyami scheme is really funded, and can it be replicated in other programs like maybe PM1E and others for the similar success? So this is my question to Vivek sir. Vivek, you're there?
Hello?
Yeah, now you're audible.
Yeah,
Are you able to hear my question?
No, please repeat that. I think I missed.
Okay, so the main idea is that any of these digital platforms or programs, we see, the last mile provider, whether it is Bharat Udyami or another flagship program called PM1E, where we have PDOs or common service centers, right? So how important is these last mile providers for success of these programs? That is a one. And second one, how the way Bharat Udyami has been funded through USOF, can the same model be replicated to other programs like PM1? So this is the question for you.
See, the importance of the last mile partner, not only for telecom, for that any industry, I would say, is very crucially linked to the quality of service delivery, because the end customer or the citizen, the touch point is the last mile. So whatever good you may do on the backhaul or the core network, unless that piece of customer touch point is handled in a qualitative manner, the whole experience can really change. So this goes without saying that the importance of the BharatNet Udyami is certainly very crucial to the overall service delivery. Having said that, because we see the local cable operators who conventionally have a very high repute of service delivery, even if I talk of cities or towns where we have been using cable services, even 9:30, 10 o'clock in the evening, if you call up the guy and say my TV is not working, he'll certainly show up in 10 minutes time. That was the reputation in terms of quality of service, or the MTTR as you name it. And the same guy is your service delivery guy for FTTH. You are sure he is going to turn up whenever you are in problem. So that's the importance of the last mile guy. And we have seen that even the backhaul network issues, backhaul means something which is beyond the OLT, and I have a fiber cut or something. The first line of maintenance is done by my Udyami, though contractually my service partner who have to turn up from some town or to travel 10-20 kilometers, before they land at the site, the Udyami, who is contractually obliged only for the end customer, is doing the first line maintenance of the backhaul fiber also, so as to see that the impact on the end customer is minimal. That's the way whole ownership in the network is getting changed with the participation of all these partners across the country, and the uptime also has substantially improved. So owning the network, running the network, monetizing the network, all of this is happening because of this last mile partner only. and to run the other services like PM Vani hotspots or other digital engagements. We are seeing that these are the guys who are doing that piece of service also, because it's the geography understanding that is very crucial, that what is doable and what is not doable, and you cannot bring that intelligence from outside. So if we have to see the viability, the feasibility of doing a hotspot across, let us say, one state, we reach out to all the concerned Uddimis to get the grassroots information that whether it is feasible, and if it is feasible, how much time you will take, and whether you will run into maintenance challenges when we have the service running. So all these critical, vital piece of information is undoubtedly coming from these last mile partners. So I think the success of whole Uddimi program is because of the intelligence that we carry at the grassroots level and then do the whole business modeling.
Okay, thank you, Vivek, for taking up this question. My another question is to Saraj. So since we are talking about educational sector or education vertical focusing on providing quality education in rural areas, there is a program called Diksha, that is digital infrastructure for knowledge sharing, which is built to make content accessible to masses. You talked about vernacular language, you talked about the meaningful content. So how you envisage a digital public infrastructure in educational sector? What are the things that you think needed for solving the educational problem at masses, basically at the scale, not at maybe a village or a block, but if we want to solve the problem at a scale of a billion population, what do you think we should do? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Sandeep. I hope my voice is coming through clearly.
Yes, it is good.
Thank you. So, very important question, and the straightforward answer is very linked to what Mr. Dua said a short while back. The answer actually lies in teacher training. And why I linked it to what Mr. Dua said is because you have to train the ecosystem that is locally present. Diksha has good content. Diksha actually is a marvelous initiative. Diksha on the cloud and the need for a second grade student or a fifth grade student to learn from Diksha, the need is not met directly by virtue of having Diksha. A lot of the village population, they still don't carry mobile phones. There is a clear study, and more than one country now has banned mobile phones in schools because digital content and mobile phones have proven to be counterproductive in K-12 education. K-12 means kindergarten to 12th. So I think the findings coming from the grassroots are very simple, that in order for children to learn in schools, they need the helping hand of a teacher. As a result, the focus is actually the teacher. All of the training, all of the capacity development has to focus on the teacher if you want to train millions of remote and underserved area children. And as a result, where the focus has to be with even Diksha is that as I said, I've been into remote geographies and sat in schools, noticed that there are students in the classroom, but the teacher is sitting outside, and not one teacher, but many teachers are sitting outside, either knitting or doing something else. And if you just go up and ask, why is that like that? Foundationally, they don't know how to teach and don't know how to teach. Now, this is not a commentary on everyone. Don't take this as a generalization, but it's an indication and it's an illustration of a problem. The belief is that if you put lesson plan by lesson plan, digital education through an interactive panel which plays out canned videos or assistive videos, which help a teacher convey the Archimedes principle, for example, in a nice way, there are two things that happen. One, the teacher feels empowered and confident of teaching that lesson. And then there is a child that focuses on the teacher, that is trying to tell the child what the Archimedes principle is all about. Bottom line, I just want to simplify this. The mass market deployment of e-learning passes through having teacher training, having systems with which teachers can train students in the classroom with a single click, has the ability for those students who did not follow to be able to do offline classes, preferably with devices in the school, not devices that are gone outside schools, preferably with devices that are provided by the school, and places are provided either in the courtyard or in some other way that students can use multi-use tablets or things like that for their refresher or flip learning. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sarad. So I'll take a question from our Q&A, which is, I think, for Amita. There's a question from Mr. Mahesh that when smartphone becomes capable of TN and NTN access, then integrated TN and NTN can erase the issues what we are talking in the what is existing in the rural areas, even for the remote villages. Don't you think 5G and 6G ubiquitous connectivity coverage resolve these issues and bring entire Indians into the mainstream connectivity?
So the integration of TN and NTN is still not widespread. You see, it is still not there because NTN has not been deployed. But I think that will definitely solve the seamless connectivity between TN and NTN when this happens. But there are issues with handoffs, the timing between handoffs between TN and NTN. So, but eventually, I think in the 6G era, there will be integration between TN and NTN, which will solve this issue. Is that your question? I thought you...
Yeah, I have taken a question from the Q&A section here. So, so the question is whether when this integration happens, this issue of rural connectivity will solve for once and all. Is what?
Yes.
Do you also think so?
Yes, yes, because I think a couple of things with TN and NTN. You see, it will solve the rural connectivity. In which places connectivity is not available. Like nowadays with Starlink, right? With Starlink fixed access, you can go for camping in a remote area and then establish a connection with Starlink. It can be done. But I think integration of TN and NTN will definitely solve ubiquitous coverage across all areas, including rural.
Okay, thank you. So one, follow-up question on the work which is being taken up in 6G. There are lots of discussion definitely over the ubiquitous connectivity, and there are two things which has been talked about ubiquitous connectivity. One is the heterogeneous access, where you have cellular, Wi-Fi, satellite, HAPS, and many other heterogeneous access will be available, and that will make possible for this ubiquitous connectivity. Mm-hmm. And another discussion what is there is when such heterogeneous access will be there will be even a greater need of a very efficient interworking, right? You should have these heterogeneous technology interworking with each other in a very efficient way. So my question is, will 6G also follows the earlier path where we have seen integration of 3GPP and non-3GPP in 4G, where we see EPDG being, one component which allows non-3GPP to, provide access from the 4G core, and going forward, you have N3IWF in 5G. So is the similar approach will be taken up in 6G, or there will be a different, a more flexible approach will be made available for such heterogeneous integration to meet the ubiquitous connectivity objective?
So I think ubiquitous connectivity will happen in 6G, and although this has not been discussed widely, but I think 6G the thing which is clear, that it will have the architecture. There will be one architecture which is standalone. There will not be a non-standalone one, because it introduces complexity. So there will be a standard architecture with a 6G core or advanced 5G core here, and one core network where you can access both 4G, 5G, and 6G services, or 5G and 6G services. So that is, and so interworking between all these components you mentioned will happen, but it will happen using a standalone architecture.
Okay. So my another question I'll again pick up from the Q&A to Satyam. What are the 3 top learnings for making the service sustainable in the rural India through their experience of the work, what they are doing?
Yes, it is a very relevant question, because as we are implementing the things, we come to know what are the pros and cons of implementing a standard or a box solution. There is no one key, there is no one master key for every problem, right? There has to be different solutions for different problems. So in this scenario, we have 3 major components. We have government, we have private sector, and we have local communities. So the problem with the government is it is providing funding in multiple schemes like CSC and by USOF, and multiple pilot projects are there. Things are implemented, but there is very less amount of ownership among the panchayats and maintenance among the panchayats. So because there is a commercial unviability there. If the systems are commercially viable, panchayats are ready to maintain it on a regular basis as well. What I have felt is the private sector, the MSMEs, the startups should create and deploy meaningful products that can create a sustainable commercial model. This can be of healthcare, this can be of education, it can be of governance, and n number of things can be implemented, even IoT and all. So this is the main issue, that commercialization of the systems that has been implemented, or the fundings that has been done by the government should be done in a scenario that ownership and maintenance has to be done by the panchayats or the final beneficiaries of the system. Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Satyam. So I'll quickly go to Prashant, and Prashant, there is a cellular connectivity which is available. You also discussed about the type of data which is being transacted on the cellular network, and then the D2M technology which is being piloted by Sankhya. So one important question would be we know we have people who are either not connected or underconnected, or not connected with the infrastructure which really solves their issue, right? We have maybe 3 billion people which ITU says still needs the connectivity. But the important point is how to provide connectivity to these people without adding to their financial burden. We definitely, everyone wants to provide the connectivity, but how we can enable a connectivity which really doesn't add or burn their pocket, or doesn't add the financial burden on them. So what are your views on that?
Sure. Sandeep, thank you for that question. Very insightful. So you're right. You rightfully said we have almost a little over 3 billion people who are connected, more than that actually. And how do we connect the next 3 billion, the other 3 billion who are disconnected? Like, for instance, if we look at India, we have almost 1.2 billion people who are connected to mobile phones. But of that 1.2 billion, about 300 million plus subscribers are just using feature phones, and they don't have connectivity to audio and video. And when they don't have connectivity to audio and video, they are unable to get any rich content to educate themselves and improve their standard of living. So unless and until we create a business model so that all the stakeholders who are involved in that service, the solution, the product, everything put together, as long as they don't become profitable, they will not be able to give an inexpensive service to the end user. So that is exactly what we are trying to do. Just like we created the UPI moment in India, on similar lines, we are trying to create a D2M moment in India and start not just the services in India, but export it across the world, like we are exporting UPI today. How are we enabling that? What is it that Sankhya is doing to enable the other 3 billion? What we are trying to do is everything from the chip to the products that are built on that chip, to the solutions that integrate with Sankhya Tejas products, and the services that are deployed and delivered on top of these solutions. Everything is made in India. So Atmanirbhar Bharat in true sense. If it succeeds in India, which is an extremely price-sensitive market, there's no reason why we cannot reach the other 3 billion.
Thank you, Prashant. So I'll go to Dr. Babu and wanted to understand. There are various applications which are being developed by NIRD, to improve digital governance or e-governance in the rural areas. So one of that initiative I understand is also about geotagging, right? They are geotagging all the assets what is available in the rural area. So while doing this geotagging, what is the way they do it? Whether they need a connectivity at real time to do this geotagging, or they do it offline and then come back and then upload the data, or what is their experience with respect to having connectivity or lack of the connectivity while doing this geotagging initiative of NIRD?
Yeah, thank you, Sandeep. In fact, many ministries, both RD and PR, they develop a lot of tools. We are also almost disseminating for them for the planning point of view. And also under this flagship programs, so many assets are constructed, and they need to see whether really it is there or not, monitoring point of view. And Awas Yojana point of view, also like duplicate can be avoided, road planning point of view. All these things, geotagging is one of the game changer, truly speaking, in the RD and PR. So many lakhs of data is geotagged. But what happened while geotagging? Definitely internet is not required, but this is working on GNSS mode. But where if you go to the hilly terrain area and the coverage forest area and all, the signal strength is very weak. But when they are doing geotagging up from the ground level, we are giving a lot of training to the grassroots level people, where they are collecting data and uploading to the various servers of ministry. Unfortunately, they are unable to verify when they are taking the asset. So because the image, the satellite data, which is not able to see to verify it, number one. Number two, because they don't have internet connectivity. So that is the one reason it cannot be streamed out. But whereas latitude, longitude can be recorded. So the accuracy is getting low. So what I mean to say, the broadband connection, if it is going to reach to the last mile, so this enhance the accuracy of the geotagging assets also. That is the one. So whatever mobile geotagging people are using, it's almost 5 to 10 meters coming. If we can implement through network or through GNSS, that GNSS service through GSM SIM kind of thing, we can establish a local area augmentation system we used to call as a LAN. That means that we can bring into the a differential global positioning system concept. The accuracy can be improved. This is the big challenge for the improving the geotagging asset. If the internet broadband connection or through Wi-Fi, whatever it is available to the look and corner of the country, I'm sure this is going to the big game changer. But it is a very essential for the rural development domain. Yeah.
Sure. Thank you. So I think we are top of our hour. So I will take one question and I will, it will be open for all the panelists to take a stab at this. The question is, I will take from the Q&A. So question is, since 93% of the village in India has 3G, 4G, TN coverage, can we consider the challenge what we are discussing here is already solved for the rural area, and only the remotest areas are only the one which need attention, and the challenges of rural area is already solved, is the question, and it is open for all the panelists to to have their views. Prashant, you want to go first?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, yes, absolutely. 4G network covers more than 90% of the country's landmass. But is 4G service affordable for everyone, whether it is urban, suburban, or rural? The answer is a clear no. And that's one of the reasons why when the mobile rates charges were increased, there was a lot of there was headlines across all the newspaper, across the entire media. And once again, I repeat myself that we need to make it more affordable for the rural subscribers, which is not the case today. And that is exactly what we are trying to do. Not just make it affordable, but also make it so that we don't just target the end users as mobile phones, but it could be TVs, tablets, laptops, cars, smart cars, and everything in between, So any kind of a smart device can connect to such a network. And we have already demonstrated various different devices in our trial network in Delhi.
Okay.
I hope that answers the question to some extent.
Sarad, your take on this?
Sandeep, even if you do count reaching out some radio coverage to a specific area in a village and add that to the 90%, I'd just like to tell you that services like remote health, remote education, they are nowhere near ready, or the connectivity is nowhere near ready to support a sustainable service. So, no, I think that statement is way off the mark, very misleading.
Amitabh, you have some views on this?
Yes, I have a view. You say, although 4G and 5G, I hear that it provides 90% coverage, but what kind of coverage, right? Is there a broadband coverage, ubiquitous broadband coverage, where you can provide new services like XR-based education, right? So in that case, you need wide bandwidth, efficient MIMO or extreme MIMO schemes. Are those available? But there is always scope for improvement where you can provide for education this XR-based, mixed reality or extended reality-based services. And that I don't think is available with 4G or even 5G. You need to go to 6G. So there is always scope of improvement with respect to the type of services, ubiquitous services with real broadband connectivity. That I don't think a 4G network or even a 5G network can provide nowadays. So that's one point. And the other point is that you need ubiquitous connectivity, right? Like IoT devices. for agriculture, for smart cities or smart villages, where fiber connection is difficult. You have to provide using NTN. So that is not still available, or direct to device NTN is still not available. You have low rate messaging, but direct to device NTN is not available. With Starlink, you can still get broadband with VSAT, but you see the affordability is one of the speaker said in a country like India is very important. So it has to be affordable, because Starlink is still expensive. So affordability and new broadband services, new features are still not there. Like I said, extended reality for education. Thank you.
Okay. So thank you all the panelists for their very insightful views, their thought, what they are doing, and we exceeded some of our time. I quickly want Chandrakanta to announce for the tomorrow's session, and we'll close this particular session for today. Chandrakanta, you want to announce for tomorrow's hybrid session?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, please go ahead quickly.
Thank you, sir. Now, I would like to announce 19th July conference concluding day session which will be held in hybrid mode. Theme session covering realizing the 6G vision societal needs in the afternoon from 13:45 to 14:45 IST. In case anyone has missed the technical session, please join the technical session summary from 12 to 12:45 IST. The conference validity session will be held from 15:45 to 16:30 IST, where we will have the TSDSI OTC awards being conferred by Ms. Tripti Saxena, Senior DDG and Head TEC. And we'll also have a TSDSI overview session in the morning from 11 to 12 p.m. IST, where we will give an overview of our work and processes. This will be useful for participants who are interested in contributing to standards. Thank you. All the sessions detailed for the concluding day have been pasted in the chat box. Kindly refer to the chat for more information. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you everyone for joining us today. Have a nice day.
Thank you, TSDSI, for being such a wonderful host.
Thank you.
Pleasure to be part of the panel.